Okay, so we got this problem. I'm going to write up complete solutions here instead of just calculating these 3 numbers or 4 numbers. You're going to have some written assignments where you have to write up complete solutions. On the final, you're going to have to write up complete solutions. You got group assignments. We got to get in the habit of writing complete solutions. So let's do that here. First thing we want to do is figure out what we're calling success and what we're calling our population. Let me write those in the other order. Population and success. So we're told here in a poll of voters, this many did something, planned to vote for this guy. So my population is a group, not a number, is voters, technically likely voters. Not these likely voters, that's my sample. That's just a sample. My population is all the voters, and I took a sample of 650 from that population. And success is they're going to vote for this guy. Or plan to vote for him. Then we can define our variable. We write that out to help us write this. Let P be the proportion of them that did that, of the population that's successful, of voters that plan to vote for him, plan to support him. Okay, then we have our sample statistics. There are always 3 numbers. They're always going to give us 2 out of the 3. X is if you don't know what the letters stand for, you're going to do so bad on all the tests. You got to learn what all the letters stand for. X is the number of actual successes in the sample. How many in the sample, a whole number, did success, whatever that is. In this case, 338 said they're going to vote for this guy. That's my number of successes. N is that literally since day 1, N is sample size, 650. P hat is always X over N. So what do we get there? %. So 52% of the sample said they would vote for him. So what's the real answer? What's P? That's who we're trying to find, is P, the real proportion of the entire population that'll vote for him. Okay, so right there, that was the first question, right there. We've gotten that. Now, how are we going to answer these? Find the margin of error and then find the confidence interval. We got a couple of choices. We could do this the long way. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, I'll go ahead and go through it the long way. But then we could use a shortcut. We could use the calculator. So I'll go through it using the calculator too, and you'll see it's much quicker to just use the calculator. So the first thing we'd want to find is our standard error, square root of P hat, Q hat over N. So we're going to have to find Q hat, but that's always 1 minus P hat. That would be 0.48. And N was 650. All right, so let me throw that in the calculator. .01, well, that's definitely going to round up. So I'm just going to call this 0.02. Then our margin of error is our appropriate Z star times the standard error. For 95%, you got this list. It's in that document I just showed. You don't have to memorize these numbers. But the Z star for 95% is 1.96 times 0.02. I'm just going to take that last answer, just times 1.96, and we get about 4%. There's our margin of error. They rounded quite a bit there. I would have put 0.038, but whatever. Then our confidence interval is always whatever the sample said, plus or minus the margin of error. So that's 52%. Notice you always got to read the questions very carefully, whether they want you to type decimals or percentages. These want percentages. So 52%, the sample, plus or minus 4%. So minus would be 48, plus would be 56. And then our conclusion would be we are 95% confident that P, this is why we write this line here. It helps writing our conclusion that the proportion of voters that support the candidate is between, don't forget the word between, 48% and 52%. Or no, well, it's 56, right? We're not making predictions about the samples. I did the sample. Sample's done. I'm making predictions about the entire population. Okay, so that's doing it the hard way. What's the easy way? So once I got to this level right here, I could have just used the calculator to do everything. Okay, so I will type all this into my calculator. I'm going to go stat over to tests. For the rest of the semester, we're going to be here in tests. Now I got to figure out which button to use. For test 3, everything is proportions. You're only going to use buttons 5, 6, A, and B. Write that down, 5, 6, A, and B. Those are all the proportion buttons. Say 5 and 6, they say prop. A and B say prop. We've got 4 different kinds of problems. For the next couple of weeks, there are really only 4 problems. We've got 1 sample interval, 1 sample hypothesis test, 2 sample interval, 2 sample hypothesis test. How many samples did I have here? I only had 1 sample. There was only 1 in. Was this a hypothesis test or a confidence interval? You don't even know what a hypothesis test is yet. See, look at buttons 5 and 6. 5 and 6 say test on them. See right there, test? That's not what I want. I want my button to say prop, and I want it to say 1 because I only have 1 sample, and I want it to say interval. That's A, 1 prop interval. And look what they ask for. Like literally the same stuff I just wrote down. X was 338. N was 650. My confidence level was 95%. I hit calculate. I'm done. That's it. There's my confidence interval. Okay, so I'm going to say here from the calculator, we got the interval 0.482 up to 0.56, no, 558. So right there, I'm done. I could have answered this question. Obviously, I just would have typed, like, this is more accurate than what we got there. And that's because we rounded right here. If we hadn't rounded so much right here, we would have gotten those same numbers. So I literally could have typed that 48.2, 55.8. It would have given me credit. Now I got to work backwards to find the margin of error. So how am I going to find the margin of error? Remember, the margin of error, the shortcut is it's always high minus low over 2. The big one minus the small one over 2. So I could just do that now. Now, if I type this, I'm going to get the wrong answer. I need to do high minus low first, then divide by 2. So I like to just do the top, high minus low, hit enter, then divide by 2. And there's my margin of error. So we don't have to go through this trouble of finding the standard error, using the Z star, all this. We can, there's nothing wrong with it, but we don't have to.